All right, everybody, welcome into the Kodiak Broncos podcast. I am here to talk about that absolutely thrilling game that we just experienced on Monday Night Football between the Broncos and the Browns. And two things. I just want to say, I went to the game. I didn't feel like changing out of my outfit or anything. I was like, you know what? Even though I'm tired, as back and forth game with emotions like that, and me screaming when Bonitto and Mims and Jaquan were running to the end zone, that tends to make you a little tired. But also my voice is a little shot, so I do apologize because I know that this is not the voice you guys are used to hearing, but you know what? We'll make do with it. I just want to say, leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already, drop a comment, and let me know what you guys thought about this gutsy win by our Denver Broncos. And yeah, follow me on Twitter at Kodiak Broncos. Let's get right into it. So the first lesson I have from this game is not a, present or going forward lesson. It's actually not about the Broncos. It's about where in the world was this Jerry Jeudy the whole time he was here. I don't know if something happened with the quarterbacks. I don't know if he was unhappy with his offensive coordinators. I don't know if he was unhappy with the front office and, the situation he was just drafted to in general when we took him in 2020 in April. Because I remember, I want to flash everybody back to April 2020. It is amazing what effort does for a guy who is that talented coming out of Alabama. He was the second drafted wide receiver in that draft for a reason. And even though that draft was absolutely loaded with wide receiver talent, and you had guys, even though Jeudy ended up not really hitting for us, you had guys who were available. You could have taken over Jerry Jeudy, like CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Higgins, Ayuk, Pittman, have all ended up being really, really good in the NFL as well. And we always knew that Jerry Jeudy had the talent, and I don't know what reason it was, but he just never put it together. We saw flashes of this. I still think that at the end of the 2022 year, when Hackett was finally gone and we were airing it out, I thought Jerry Jeudy played some really, really dang good football. But, he talked trash all week, and he came into our house and he dropped 235 yards and a touchdown. That is the most passion I have seen him show. I don't know, throughout his entire career when he was with the Denver Broncos, because he never talked about our opponents like that. Everything that was, related to Jerry Jeudy, it was related to our beat writers. He was talking trash to the media about, them, about, why are they questioning his performances. And let's just say that I always thought that Jerry Jeudy had some maturity problems with this team. And for one reason or another, all that snowballed into the idea that it just was never going to work here. So the Broncos traded him. I think most Broncos fans were kind of like, all right, good riddance. And I just don't know why he never hit his stride here. I hope we end up finding out at some point down the road as to why Jerry Jeudy never got, never showed anything that was close to this. And as soon as he goes somewhere else, he absolutely explodes. But yeah, I'm willing to let everything just be in the past, just move on. We got to do that with Russell Wilson too. Like, I know it was a fun storyline for the game, or not was it a fun storyline for the game? Sure. I thought it was a fun storyline because, it was an underlying message to the Broncos. Don't overlook us. And I feel like that's kind of what happened. But either way, just willing to let it go. He was a Bronco, and, I'll always give a mile-high salute to all my former Broncos. But at the end of the day, we just got to move on. We just got to let this be in the past. Same with Russell Wilson, but we'll talk about that some more at a later date. Lesson number 2, inexcusably bad effort from Vance Joseph's defense. I can understand why you played the Ravens as poorly as you did. They're an elite team. They're an elite offense. Lamar Jackson just did Lamar Jackson things. You were missing PJ Locke, and, Zay Flowers was doing unholy things to Devon Key in his place. Now, before I go any further, I just want to show everybody this next-gen stats graphic. This is just, I don't know what to make of this other than it just seems like the Broncos were either A, unprepared, B, just like trying some new things and decided that this would be the week to, try out some random things. And hey, if you're willing to throw in some new stuff into your defense, this probably was the game heading into the week that you probably were just like, okay, cool, Jameis Winston. But when Jerry Jeudy was lined up against Patrick Surtain, 3 targets, 2 receptions, 20 receiving yards. Now, when he was lined up against everybody else, so this includes Levi Wallace, this includes, I know Key got some run, this includes some Brandon Jones, and I know that those guys don't play corner, but still, I saw some man coverage looks on from our strong safety position, which didn't really make a lot of sense to me, but oh well. And this also includes Jaquan McMillain. This includes Chris Avery-Strain, who got some action in the back half of, or final 2 drives of the game. But yeah, this was just absolutely, it just goes back to the idea that this was just a bad effort. This was a poorly executed game plan. You allowed 300 yards in the first half, almost 600 yards overall. And you allowed 497 passing yards against Jameis, and the run game for Cleveland was not good either. Oh, and it's just an added bonus that the guys you were allowing to absolutely destroy you, besides Jeudy and Njoku, Elijah Moore has not had, anything relevant happen in his NFL career besides get traded. I know he had a 5-week stretch throughout his rookie season where he looked pretty good, and, when people drafted Garrett Wilson, a lot of people were just like, I don't know, this Elijah Moore kid could still, be the one there. And then, obviously, Elijah Moore is no longer on that roster. He was actually game day inactive for the most of that year. And guess what? He had 14 targets, 8 receptions, and I think over 100 yards. So whatever you did, I think they ran a more zone-heavy scheme because of the fact that they were missing Riley Moss. Throw the checks, throw the coverages, throw the bunch packages, throw all that from this game and just light it on fire. Never look at it again. Never try it again. That's all I can say. And, we've had Vance Joseph performing at such a high level this year with the entire defense and with, not just how our players have developed, not just how everybody has developed on the defensive side of the ball, but with how we attack football, with how great we play and how complementary that our defensive line and our secondary plays with one another. But what drove me absolutely ludicrous was way too many crucial third downs. I think I counted three or 4 third and longs from Cleveland that were converted in the second half that basically kept them in the game, because if you had forced Cleveland to get a stop on some of those, or forced Cleveland to at least punt on some of those, that could have been the difference maker right there. And it's just terrible. It was terrible. Like, we had guys running wide open downfield. We had dudes, with 5 yards of separation in between every zone that we were playing in our coverage scheme. So, yeah, I just don't really know what was going on. I don't know what they were talking about in the meeting rooms this week. He did not really seem to adjust as the game went on either until the second to last drive. And, we'll talk about that later. But the clutch factor of this defense, yes, McMillain made a great play. Bonitto made a great play. I felt like it was really missing from this defense tonight. And, hey, this is the first time that we've really had a chance to have our showcase our defense being clutch in at least a competitive game. And they failed every single test. Besides the two turnovers, they failed every single test that was thrown their way. Now, obviously, I just showed this one. So, number 3, I'm proud of the offense for sustaining a game like that, but the efficiency was way too inconsistent. So, there is no offense that the Broncos have trotted out in the past 8 years where I'm just like, yeah, they totally win that game. They totally win that game with a wide receiver dropping 235 yards on them. They totally win that game allowing the opposing quarterback to throw for 500 yards and 3 touchdowns. The offense, I would say that they were not opportunistic either. They did not play complimentary football on either side of the ball tonight. Like, the defense didn't play complimentary. The offense didn't play complimentary. How many times did the defense, do something great finally, and then, oh, guess what? We throw an arm punt 50 yards downfield. Did not like that at all. How many times did we finally force the Browns to punt, and then guess what? We go 3 and out as well. So the one thing that we all should be really proud of tonight is the fact that we have a run game again, because that's really been missing from our offense for a little bit now. So Jaleel McLaughlin, he lives, and it could be like musical chairs as to who gets the hot hand every week, and it just so happened to be Shifty Jaleel this week. Was hoping and was kind of expecting it to be an Estime game, but Jaleel McLaughlin, apparently he's still around. We haven't really seen a lot of him, but I'm fine with it. Ride the hot hand, do whatever, because he was doing really well, and for that drive he had in the, I don't remember if it was the late third, early fourth quarter, where he basically carried the ball for like 50 or 60 yards on his own on that drive. That did a lot for me, and I was like, okay, I really wish that this guy got a chance to, get into the end zone at some point this game. But the complementary football, as I mentioned, was not there tonight at all. Because, yeah, you could run the ball on that one drive, but, the rest of the game, your run game was just non-existent. It looked like how it had pretty much all year, besides the Saints game. So, yeah. And one thing I want to make note of is the short yardage situations absolutely killed us. 2 times we could not get first downs on 2nd and 1. I don't know if we actually had a 2nd and 1 on the second drive that I was talking about, or that I was thinking about when it came to this. But either way, our short yardage situations, they need a lot of work. Now, you could say, okay, we're overmatched personnel-wise, and, Cleveland does have a good defensive line. And sure, I'm not going to dispute that. I'm not going to deny that or anything. But the short yardage situations absolutely murdered us. If you're able to pick up some of those first downs, that was what would have been a difference, because instead of, going into field goal range, when you're at 2nd and 1 from the 48 and you get stopped and you eventually end up having a 4th and 1, I believe it was, that is a difference between taking 3 to 4 minutes off a clock and potentially going down the field and getting points. So I'm really, really not happy with the short yardage situations. I think that they need a lot of work in practice. I think that they need to work on those packages and, look on what worked, what didn't work. And I did not really like the Jaleel McLaughlin usage on 2nd and 1, because you don't need to, do a toss play and get him, 10, 15 yards. You don't need that. Just throw Estime in there, have him fall forward. Even if the blocking is terrible, he's your best option to fall forward and just get that first down. So lesson number 4, the depth guys are why this team isn't a Super Bowl contender yet. You guys probably wondered why I have not talked about Levi Wallace. I was actually at this game, and I remember every single time I noticed that Levi Wallace kind of had a mismatch personnel-wise. Like if he was on Jeudy or Njoku, I noticed that. And guess what? If I can notice that from the 500 level and 18 rows up, guess what? Cleveland can too. Now, I've seen enough of Levi Wallace. I don't really know why they thought that this guy was, going to be our best option as a backup behind Surtain and Riley Moss as, our boundary outside corner. But I've seen enough. The play of Levi Wallace, this is really, really saying something. It made me miss Damari Mathis. I don't even know how that's possible. But either way, Chris Abrams drain or Damari Mathis from here on out. I've seen enough. I've seen enough. Now, honorable mention, Justin Strnad had one of the worst performances of his career as well. How many times did it seemed like he had somebody just stopped, and then he just got absolutely juked by Jerome Ford or Jerry Jeudy to pick up a key first down. So, I know that it's not really, you don't want to be too critical of a guy that's really stepped up this year and probably should have never been in this situation to begin with. But tonight he had a really, really rough performance. Hopefully he can shake it off, and hopefully he can play well in 2 weeks against the Colts. Now, this is why the $50 million in dead cap matters. It doesn't matter because you can't get Bo Nix weapons. It doesn't matter because you can't build around your young quarterback. It matters because you can't sign depth guys that are good enough to, sustain when Riley Moss goes down. And it really hampers what you can do on the defensive side of the ball there. And we've been very fortunate this year to only have 2 missed games of Patrick Surtain and Riley Moss all year. I guess 3 because Patrick Surtain did get hurt in the on the first defensive play of the Chargers game. So, we've missed 3 games between those guys all year. And without Riley Moss and Brandon Jones, I just want to say that this team is absolutely going nowhere. And, we're building something special in the Mile High City, and I'm really, happy with what our defense has done. I'm really happy with what they've become. But, without those dudes, this team's going nowhere. I'd even throw Zach Allen in the mix as well, because we honestly didn't look that great in the first half against the Raiders without him. And then the Raiders raided. But the Browns put up a much better fight than the Raiders did last week. So, I just want to say that the depth is just not there on this roster yet. And, I expect Sean Payton, I expect George Payton to be able to figure that out. I was one of those dudes that wanted George Payton fired coming into the year, but now I'm just like, hey, keep the ball rolling. Maybe take a few years to supplant your vision onto this roster, because it's clear with what you're doing is winning games. So that's all we can ask for. And so lesson number 5, I just want to say that even though it sounds like I'm kind of talking negatively about this team, I'm really proud of the fight that they showed tonight, because this is a game you could have lost. Cleveland gave you 4 chances where you had your back against the wall, and guess what? The Broncos climbed out of the hole every single time. And I got to give props to Sean Payton for kicking the field goal at the end, because I was with my friend at the game tonight, and I remember telling him, if we have to kick the field goal, we lose this game, because that's how unconfident I was in the defense. The defense only did one thing that I was really proud of all night before that, and that was the Bonitto thing. That was the Bonitto play. But yeah, we've won every game we should have won this year comfortably before last week. And, we're not going to have any of these beatdowns going forward. We're not going to have any of those beatdowns that we had against New Orleans, Carolina, and Atlanta, because your upcoming schedule is fulfilled with a bunch of teams that are going to be in the playoffs. So, yeah, and I just want to say, it's often said that in the NFL, there's 2 to 3 plays that really swing the outcome of a game. And, the skill gap from every NFL team is really not that big from one another. The skill gap in professional sports really is just not that big in general. It's why you see, it's why Scotland beat Spain in a Euro qualifying match. It's why, we've seen so many overmatched teams in the MLB, like 110 loss teams sweep World Series champions. So yeah, in professional sports, there's just a lot of variance, and I have a very strong philosophy about this. I think that, yeah, it just basically boils down to, can you make the 2 to 3 key plays in the game that will keep your team afloat? And guess what? Today, the Broncos did. Nik Bonitto is going to enter Defensive Player of the Year conversations. McMillain, yeah, he kind of has been an unsung hero of this team. Last year, he got a takeaways, but this year he's been more of like a, coverage, do your job sort of dude, rather than a dude that's just hunting for the football every play. And then Marvin Mims. Oh my goodness, did I feel great for him after it's been a really tough road for Marvin Mims as a wide receiver, but that was probably my favorite play of the year on offense that we've had so far, because we were 3rd and 11 from our own end zone, backed up, and guess what? 95-yard passing touchdown. So Cleveland gave it the very all. This is not a good team, I would say, but it is not a bad team. They're definitely better than the 3-9 record shows, and I think that they showed that on one of the biggest primetime stages. And they came in hungry with a lot of momentum. They came in with a lot of momentum after knocking off their hated AFC North rival in the snow. And Pittsburgh's a good team as well. Pittsburgh's going to be in the playoffs. They're going to be fighting for the 2-3 seed. And you got to use this bye week to heal up and game plan for a huge contest upcoming against the Colts, because the Colts, they're going to be feeling good after that victory they had in New England, last second victory they had yesterday. So this is just sort of like all right, we need this bye week. I know that I'm definitely, taking this bye week, especially because it's going to give Riley Moss some time to heal up. It's going to give Brandon Jones some time to heal up. And you know what? A week off from Broncos football. Hey, I'm not opposed after how tired and how emotional that game was for me. I felt like I had 9 heart attacks that game. But hey, we pulled it out. I'm super proud of this team, and I hope you guys are as well. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time.